Hey, Defying Gravity Volleyball family, it's Coach T, and I'm back with another YouTube video. In today's YouTube video, I am going over the volleyball rotation basics, step by step for beginners. So let's hop right into that because there's a lot to go over. Learning volleyball rotations is one of the most confusing parts when you're first learning the sport, but it's also one of the most important aspects in a game because if you get called out of rotation, that's a really easy way to lose momentum, but also give the other team free points that you do not need in a heated match. To fully understand something, you have to understand it from the inside out. So let's start at the very beginning. Rotating in volleyball is associated with the sport's serve. Serving is when you go behind the service line and you're serving it hopefully over the net in order for your opponent to receive the ball. We know there are 6 players on a court at a time. So there are 6 spots on the court. These 6 spots can mean a few things in volleyball, but for rotations, it's letting you know your turn in serve. The number 1 spot is the serving spot. The person that's in the one spot or just rotated to the one spot has the service. Next to 1 is 6, then 5, 4 is front row, 3 is front row, and 2 is front row as well. My next key point of rotation, when do you rotate? And this is a really important part to remember because we're not rotating each time you get a point. You rotate when you need a new server because you just won the point back. I'm a visual kind of example person, so let's make up a story for this to better understand it. So for this example, let's say my team won the coin toss and we chose to have serve first. As a coach, I decided to start my setter in position number 1, and her name is Carly. At the start of the match, Carly served the ball and it went over the net, but our opponent received it really well and got an instant kill on us, meaning we lost the point, and now Carly lost her serve. It's important to remember, however, even though coaches could decide to sub someone out after their serve or do a libero switch with middles, Carly is not being subbed out, so she is still in position 1. She is not rotating while the opponent is now serving at them. She's just simply now a back row player passing in position number 1 for serve receive. Her opponent goes up to serve and they actually miss the serve and it goes in the net. So now, would Carly serve again or would the team rotate in order to get the next server on? We know that they're going to rotate because Carly cannot serve again or they would be out of rotation. Carly rotated to position number 6, person in 6 moved to 5, 4, 3, 2. And there's many different scenarios of how this could look. Carly could have went on a serving run if she served it over the net and their team dug it up and got a kill on their own and won the point. Carly would go back to serve again because they don't need a new server. Carly still has service. Now, this is where some athletes start to get pretty confused because we're going to go into the topic of positions base and ideal spots. Now, base and ideal spots are defined as a position's ideal positioning on a court offensively and defensively. So, positions base and ideal spot is just a way for teams to still be able to set up offense and defense while still abiding by the rotation rules. You can figure out your position's base and ideal spot by knowing the position you're playing that set and if your rotation spot is in the front or back row. Here's a quick rundown of each position's base and ideal spot. So the outside hitter's ideal and base spot is going to be the left side of the court. The middles and libero's base and ideal spot is typically going to be the middle of the court. The setter and right side hitters base ideal spot is going to be the right side of the court. Let's do a little quiz to see if you can figure out a position's base and ideal spot if I just give you a spot on the court and their position. First pop quiz. If I'm an outside hitter and I'm currently in rotation position spot 5, where is my base and ideal spot going to be? If you said left side, back row, you're correct. Pop quiz 2. Let's say I'm an outside hitter and I'm currently in rotation position number 2. Where would my base and ideal spot be? If you said front row, left side, you'd be correct. The main difference is that if you're in either of the back row positions rotationally, so in 1, 6, or 5, your base and ideal spot is going to be back row, and wherever side on the court your position would be. If I'm a right side hitter and I'm technically in position number 1, my base and ideal spot would be, you guessed it, right side, back row. But I always tell my athletes this, especially in rotations, try to think about things simply and logically with rotations because there's so many numbers, different definitions, and things to remember in an already really fast-paced and high-intensity match. Would it make sense to have a middle hitter staying in rotation position spot number 4? No, because that's where I want my outside hitters to hit. Now, the next key point, we're really deep into rotation definitions now, is how do you know when to go to your base and ideal spot if you can't cross the people in rotation position without being called out of rotation? So, the way that we volleyball coaches figured out how to do that is to wait until the play has started. The start of a play is indicated by a server making contact with the ball. It's not with the ref's whistle. It's not with the server holding the ball for the serve. It's when the server hits the ball, and that's if your team hits the ball on serve or if the opponent hits the ball on serve. That's when you can release from your rotation positions and not be called out of rotation. Remember, you would be called out of rotation if your body is crossing the people that are to the left and right of you in rotation position. So if I'm playing libero and I'm technically in rotation position 6 to start, I have to remember that before the play starts, the people in 1, which is directly to the right of me, and the player in position number 5, which is directly to the left of me, cannot cross me until the server makes contact with the ball. Now, you may see athletes that do a stack, so they'll hold hands and wait to cross their feet until the serve starts so they can pull each other and get there quicker. There's all different ways once you get comfortable to figure out how to make it more efficient to get to your base and ideal spot while abiding by rotation position. And next key point, which comes up a lot when I'm teaching new players rotations, is would it make sense for people that are on serve receive to be running in the back row to their base and ideal spot when someone's serving at them? Definitely not. Imagine that. You see people in the back row running to base and ideal spot and someone serves the ball and it just hits the floor as an ace because you weren't even paying attention. You were running. You weren't looking. When your team is on serve, when you have possession of the serve, remember it's going to be much simpler because the front and back row can release to their base and ideal spot right away. Let's say you're in position number 5 and you're a libero. So you know you're not in your base and ideal spot right now. You know as a libero, your base and ideal spot is middle back. You see your teammate is going back to serve. You're waiting and you're not crossing the person that's technically in position number 6 until you see your teammate hit the ball to serve. Once you see your teammate hits the ball, you immediately run to your 6th spot and you wait to play defense. Now, when your team's on serve receive, again, serve receive is when your opponent is serving at you and you're about to play some defense, you have to remember to play defense first. This is very important. Back row has to play defense first on serve receive. So let's say I'm an outside hitter in position number 6 on serve receive. I know my base and ideal spot is the left side back row of the court. But like we just learned, running during serve receive to get to your base and ideal spot does not make any sense defensively. So I'm going to stay for 1 until we as a team send the ball back over the net. Then I'll release to my base and ideal spot. Thankfully for my front row players, on serve or serve receive, or releasing straight to your base and ideal spot right when contact with the serve happens. Now, remember, try to think about things more logically so it's easier for your brain to grasp because I'm talking about a lot of different concepts right now. We would want our front row players to release immediately because we need our setter to set no matter what. So that's why front row players can release right on contact with the serve, no matter if we're on serve receive or serving. But my back row players have to play defense first until the ball is sent back over the net on serve receive. So I just went over so many key concepts of learning the basics of volleyball rotations. I have taught rotations for many years to many different teams and ages and developmental levels, and each time every single person is utterly confused. So I'm being authentic when I say this. Always reassure yourself, but you're athletes, that it's okay if you're confused. Because if you weren't confused, I would be like, you need to sign up for engineering, law school. Your brain is phenomenal. And I have had athletes that truly grasp onto rotations after a day, and that's just how their brain works. It's phenomenal. But I was that player that did not understand rotations until I was in the game, and it just became second nature and I wasn't thinking about it anymore. My body just did it naturally. Keep up with fully understanding rotations, really dive into it, but also remember you have to understand the fundamentals and basics of rotations before you can get to higher experienced teams which do really intense serve receive rotations. So really understand these fundamentals of rotations. I explained it the best I could. There's no simple way to explain rotations where every single person will fully understand it, but I tried to include each small step for this explanation. If you have any other questions, please leave it in my comments down below. I would love to help you guys out. If not, though, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. My goal is 1,000 subscribers. Follow my TikTok and Instagram. It's growing like wildfire lately. And most importantly, check out my website, defyinggravityvolleyball.com, where I post my blog articles, YouTube videos, etc. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I hope we cross paths again in the future. Bye.